Hello, I am a woman in my mid-30s. People say that until the bride and groom enter the wedding hall, one never knows what will happen to the marriage, and that proved to be so true. Not long ago, my engagement got canceled. There are many reasons why an engagement to get married gets canceled, but in my case, my fiancé had a change of heart. He used to tell me that if I wouldn't marry him, he would remain single for the rest of his life, but he changed his mind overnight and told me that he was leaving me to find his true love. It was so mind-boggling. Anyhow, with only 1 month before the wedding, my life was thrown into chaos because of my fiancé's betrayal. I was stunned, and more than the shock from the betrayal, I just didn't know how to resolve the situation at hand. My fiancé, who caused it all, should have taken care of the mess he had created, but the problem was that he disappeared without a trace. Even now when I think about that time, I get so furious that I can't go to sleep, and it makes me jump up from the bed. I'm writing about that incident to tell the world what I had gone through because of a person acting so foolishly. I'm a kindergarten teacher. In college, I majored in French education. After failing the teacher credential examination, I changed my career path and began work at a private kindergarten school that's owned by my mother. When I first started this position, it was very hard for me because I thought that I just ended up in this work because I failed the teacher credential examination. It made me feel embarrassed as I had low self-esteem. My shame became worse when my college classmates as well as my friends, who prepared for the credential exam privately, had all passed it and got hired by the middle and high school as teachers. In front of them, I bragged that I was going abroad to study. I gave them an excuse that I was just helping out my mom in her private academy before leaving to study abroad. At that time, I lied like that because I felt like a loser in life, being behind all others. But while taking care of children in the kindergarten, I came back to my old self and realized how foolish I was. It was then I started to reveal my job proudly in front of others. But only then was I able to stand proud in front of my friends. What made me change might have been the healing powers that children possessed. When I spent all day with the children, although physically difficult, mentally I got a lot of help. You're probably wondering what I mean by that. When I spent time with children in their positive and pure ways, their positive energy got transferred to me, and it helped me to heal and regain my confidence. It transmitted to me as well. In addition, young children's ability to acquire language was so fast. I found it very meaningful to teach them. They just absorbed everything like a sponge. Their pronunciation was great also. They weren't looking at the words or symbols, but were listening to the teacher and repeating exactly like parrots so wonderfully. They could pronounce words that even adults had difficulties pronouncing. Since I lived in France, until I was 15, I could tell that they had excellent pronunciation. As the children's skills were growing, the rating of our kindergarten by the parents was very high. The waiting list had more than doubled and reached more than the maximum number of the enrolled students, even though the tuition was higher than others. Since the school was doing well, my responsibilities increased. I had to not only teach classes, but also be in charge of counseling parents. As a result, naturally, meeting with parents became more frequent, and the bond grew. However, that was the beginning of my misfortune. But one of the parents became very close and asked me to go out on a blind date with her older brother. My older brother is a professor at the physics department at a university. He is a research professor because he practically lives in a lab all day. He hasn't had any chance to date. He will be 40 in a few years, but he still has no interest in women. Could you save my brother? Truthfully, I was shocked that a man in his late 30s is still single and has never dated. On the other hand, I thought he might be better than someone who has met a lot of women, so after several rejections, I finally went on a blind date. I imagined him to be a nerd who only lived in the lab, wearing a pair of horn-rimmed glasses with shaggy hair, but when I met him, he was the opposite. He was dashing, tall, and slim, with fair skin and in style. I wondered how a man like him could be single without any woman. He seemed to be startled at looking at my expression, but then a smile spread across his lips. "I'm sorry if you were offended." "Why are you smiling?" I asked. "Is there something on my face by any chance?" "No," he replied. "It's not like that, Sally. You're so close to my ideal type that I was a bit taken by surprise. And sorry if you were offended." At the first meeting with him, he openly confessed that I was his ideal type. Those words made me feel good inside because I liked him too. After that, we saw each other several times. About 1 month later, we agreed to date more seriously, keeping marriage in mind. I became very cautious because I was dating a member from my student's family. Even though I wasn't the type who played around, it would be terrible for the school if there were any bad rumors among the parents, just in case. We dated for half a year and got engaged. These days, engagement ceremonies are usually skipped and proceeded directly to have weddings. But my future in-laws stated that they wanted to have it formally, so our family agreed. It seems that my future in-laws liked me well enough that they didn't want any delays and have the wedding within that year. My parents also wanted that. They were very happy to have a son-in-law who was a university professor when he wasn't yet 40. Besides the way my fiancé treated me, as far as they could see, my fiancé liked me a lot. So, from the parents' point of view, it couldn't have been better than this. Even when I think about it, my fiancé was very devoted to me, almost too much. For example, when we planned to go by the ocean, he would visit there on his own a few days before and try the food and the places to go to make sure they would be perfect. He would know where I should sit to get the best view of the sea and which scenic trail would be most beautiful and prepare everything in advance to ensure the best experience for me. So, how could I not fall for him? That was not all. Because I was suffering from insomnia, he would call me every night and read me a novel for several hours until I fell asleep. Which one could do it once in a while, but he did it every night. Where would there be a man like him in this world? It was inconceivable that he was someone who was dating a woman for the first time, because he seemed to know how a woman would feel so well. He treated me so tenderly, as if I was his precious but fragile being, and pampered me with so much attention and affection. But at some point, I started to doubt the way he acted. I started to suspect that I seemed to be a substitute for someone he knew before, and I was just an object in place of that person. At first I thought that he was doing things for me, but it wasn't. Once he and I went to see a movie at a movie theater, but he didn't ask me what movie to watch and had already purchased the ticket. It happened to be a horror movie, which I hated the most. Throughout the movie, I had to close my eyes, but when I slightly turned my head, he also had closed his eyes, just like me. I could tell at a glance that he did not like horror movies either. So after the movie, I asked Thomas, "Do you like horror movies? I looked at you in the theater, but you couldn't watch it well either." Then, would you believe what he said? "I actually hate horror movies, but I watch it because you like it." Did you say I like horror movies? I have never said that I like horror movies, though. Did you confuse me with someone else? Then his face turned red and avoided my gaze. He suddenly said that he was hungry and went outside ahead of me. After that day, I began to doubt my fiancé's behavior. Again, when doubts began, his small actions became suspicious one by one. His reading me a novel every night was also an object of suspicion. I definitely told him that I like romance novels, but every time, he read me mystery novels. The whole purpose of his reading to me was because I couldn't fall asleep easily, but when I had to listen to a murder story or some frightening plots, I became more agitated and couldn't sleep. Thomas, do you like mystery novels? No, I prefer quiet essays rather than novels. But why? Then why do you read me mystery novels every night? Then he said the same thing as in the theater. Well, it's because you like it. You're a big fan of the author Kiyo Higashino. I knew for sure at that moment. This man did not love me, but he loved another woman who looked like me, possibly. So to trace my fiancé past, I started checking into his social media accounts. I couldn't find any traces of his past in his social media. But when I cross-checked with some of his friends, there were traces. As part of my fiancé, who's said to be single all this time without any women, had been dating a woman with whom he had been in love for over 15 years. And had been in a relationship with her for 4 years, and that was 2 years ago. She used to be my fiancé and was 4 years older than him. Now she was married to another man. But what gave me goosebumps was that she and I looked very much alike. The day we first met, I remembered how my fiancé looked so surprised. The reason was this. In an instant, my whole body became drained of energy. This man had been trying to find another woman through me. It gave me the shivers. Every single thing he did for me were the things he used to do with his ex-lover. I exploded with complete frustration. I met a man like this without knowing that. I thought I was lucky, but I was just pathetic and foolish, that it was driving me crazy. I couldn't stand it, so I called my fiancé to meet with me. And from now on, answer me honestly. Did you choose me because you love me, or is it because I look like his ex? I know everything, so don't try to lie to me. My fiancé seemed quite surprised by my question. He couldn't speak for a long time. Then he lowered his head and started to whimper. At first, I liked you because you reminded me of my ex-girlfriend. So it's true that I became interested in you. Never once while I dated you, I thought of my ex-girlfriend. The reason I love you is not because you look like her, but because I love you as yourself. Please believe me in this. Then why didn't you ask me and did things that she liked? If you didn't think about her while seeing me, then when you bought a movie ticket or chose a book to read to me even once, you should have asked me. Honestly, I don't even believe right now that you're looking at me. I think you're still looking at your old girlfriend through me. How could I marry you with this kind of feeling? How could I live with a man who always thinks about another woman? I don't think we should fight emotionally for something like this. At this point, we should break up. I think it's better that way. Ali, please don't do this to me. You're the only one for me. Please believe me. I can't live without you. I pushed aside my fiancé, who was clinging to me crying, and came home. He was the only man who gave me the happiest moments in my life, but I could not have a future together with a man who had another woman in his heart. A few days later, his younger sister came to see me at the kindergarten early in the morning. Sally, what's going on between you and my brother? He's not coming out of his room and won't even eat for several days. It is as if he has decided to starve himself to death. By any chance, did you guys have a fight? I took her into our counseling room to avoid other people's attention. Then I told her everything that had happened. Since you are a woman too, I believe you could understand how I feel. I think this is where we will have to end. She said, if that's his tutor, I also know her. My brother had been in love with her ever since he was in high school. However, my brother isn't the kind of person you think. If he is acting like that, he would have gone looking for her. To my brother now, you're the only person for him. I'm begging you, please. Even though I broke up with him out of anger, how could I ignore him when she was telling me that he was dying? After work, I went to his house, as his sister had told me. He looked terrible when I saw him like that, and I broke down before realizing it. How could you be so weak like that? Are you going to kill yourself over such a thing? If you're this way, what should I do? I was frustrated and felt bad that I dropped to my knees and sobbed loudly. My fiancé also embraced me and cried with me. Then he pleaded with me that he wouldn't act that way ever again and asked me to believe in him once more. Reluctantly, I acquiesced, since what wish couldn't I make it happen for a dying person? After that day, my fiancé would ask for my opinion on every menial thing and try to fit to my taste and selection whenever he could, from choosing a place, menu, or movies to type of books to read to mean. Now it really felt like he was my man finally. Then the parents from both sides of the family met and set the wedding date. We finished preparing everything, including wedding photos. My mom and I were very busy buying wedding gifts and things for our newlywed home in the middle of busy wedding preparations. In the middle of it all, I received a text message from my fiancé. I'm so sorry to tell you this. but I'm leaving you to look for my true love. I'm sorry that I'm this kind of a man. Please forget me. At first I thought it was a spam message. Even if he lost all his senses, how could he advise me of the broken engagement via text with only 1 month before the wedding like some immature 8th grader? I was so dumbfounded that I could only laugh. So I tried to call him, but as expected, he would not answer. The next day, I called his sister, who told me that last night, he told her he would not go through with the wedding and left home. Instead, she became angry with me. What did you say to my brother, that he quit his professor job at the university and left home? What has happened between you two? She was turning this whole thing around to make it as if it was all my fault. It is me who is the real victim here. He only sent me a text message suddenly and disappeared. So what do you expect me to do? I'd put up with him as much as I could. The person who wants to break this engagement is not your side but our side. Since I would only get more emotional if he continued to talk, I hung up the phone and tried to contact the people close to my fiancé in trying to find out what was going on. Then I heard something incredible. One of my fiancé's college friends told me in passing. I'm not really sure, but could he be doing this because he heard the news that his ex-girlfriend got divorced? Right, that was the woman who used to be my fiancé's ex-girlfriend, who was his first love, the tutor when he was in high school. The minute I heard that, I lost all my affection for him. In the end, he was making my life miserable like this, and I played with my life as if it was nothing to him. Still, I needed to find out the facts for the exact reason, so I hired a private detective to find out about my fiancé and his tutor. I needed to know exactly to clarify who was the responsible party. While waiting for the results, my in-laws called me practically every day, demanding compensation for the monetary damages for canceling the wedding. Ashley, his younger sister, even criticized me to the parents of my kindergarten students. I only wanted to run away from the whole situation, from the shame and injustice I had to deal with. I was curious with the fact that I was the one to be stoned, when the guilty one was someone else. 1 month later, I finally was able to get the proof. The private detective told me that my fiancé was living with his ex-girlfriend. He was like garbage. As soon as he heard that his ex-girlfriend got divorced, he abandoned not only me but his job irresponsibly and ran over to her. I was a fool to be tricked by his fake tears and duped by his empty words. Now that I knew the reason for the cancellation, I wasn't going to put up with it quietly. So I went over to his house. Then I threw the pictures of my fiancé and his girlfriend in front of his family. This is the real fact of your son. As soon as he heard that his ex-girlfriend got divorced, he abandoned his family, his fiancé, and even his job. He is such a fool. True love. A dog passing by would laugh. Your son is after a woman who was married and had a husband, and ruined not only his life but an innocent life of mine too. I actually think I'm lucky that I was able to find out exactly what kind of person your son is and end it now. However, did you say that I should pay for the compensation for the damages for canceling the wedding? and for mental suffering, right? Yes, so I should get that now. I will hire an attorney and will get every penny of it, so be sure to have cash ready. And you, as a sister, since you have spread such rumors, you should be responsible for them too. Since you spread untrue rumors about me and my school, I will file a lawsuit for slander and for interfering with our business. So I advise you to look for an attorney. If you once again dump your dirty laundry on me, I will make sure you end up in the sewers too. Overnight, their cosplay as a victim turned around to their disadvantage, and they became bewildered. However, that was the same for my parents, especially my mom. She collapsed from the shock and became bedridden. She felt so ashamed and sobbed whenever she saw me, feeling sorry for me. In the meantime, the family of my ex-fiancé kept coming over to our house, pestering us to talk it over with them. However, my parents would not even open the door for them. What was left to talk over? It was better to get it over as quickly as possible. I tried to pretend that everything was back to normal for my mom's sake, but the deep wounds in my heart couldn't heal that fast. Even in the middle of the night, I would wake up suddenly with burning pain in my heart that I would have to stay awake and try to calm myself down by drinking cold water. Whenever I saw a loving couple on the television, I would feel uncontrollable fury. About 2 months later, my ex-fiancé suddenly showed up. I had finished my classes at the kindergarten and was getting ready to go home, and he was squatting in front of my car. At first, I thought it was a homeless man, and it would be dangerous, so I asked him to move out of the way. The instant he turned his head toward me, I practically had a heart attack. The homeless-like man, dirty and his hair disheveled, happened to be my ex-fiancé. As soon as he saw me, he grabbed onto my legs and begged me to forgive him. I'm a bastard who deserves to die, he said. I have nothing I could say to you, but I am also a victim. When that woman had only separated from her husband, she lied to me that she got divorced from him. I didn't know that, and I gave up everything to run to her. What should I do now? Sally, please help me. Please believe in me one more time. Please. I won't ever disappoint you anymore. I will die if you tell me to die. Really? Then go and die. If you die, I will believe that you are telling me the truth. But before then, I can't believe you. Be disappointed. That emotion is only felt if a person had any expectations. It doesn't apply to trash like you, so don't bother me and get away from me. I kicked him who was blocking my car. He rolled in pain, feigning as if he was in severe pain. Does it hurt? How you have hurt me and my family is more than thousands-fold. How dare you come only now, asking me to believe you? Who could ever believe someone like you? There must be a crisis in order to see the real side of a person. I now found out all about what kind of people you and your family are. I'm not that crazy to start with you again. I'm afraid that you would even show up in my dreams. So never come to look for me ever again. Anticipation, deceived by your woman, don't make me laugh. It's because you're a fool. So be sure to get every one of what you deserve, you stupid fool. I drove off. It seemed that my ex-fiancé didn't learn his lesson from being kicked by me and still left a long plotted message in my voicemail. But his pleading message became closer to a threatening message as I listened to it. He said that he got kicked out of his family because of me, so he would make sure to take revenge on me and ruin my life the same way his life was ruined. He said that he would make scenes at my kindergarten school every day. He poured out incredible curses at me. Of course, his behavior was also added to my lawsuit. I filed for not only the financial damages for the cancellation of the wedding, but together with mental suffering and added threats, including a court's restraining order to forbid any physical or contact. In addition, I filed a lawsuit against his sister, who spread lies about me and my kindergarten, which affected our school business, and that she ended up transferring her daughter out of the school. When the facts came out, other parents distanced themselves from her. Eventually, everything was finally over after a year. Now, only the final judgment is pending. What's left for me is to forget this whole thing and live a normal life. Even though I got all wet in a sudden storm in my life, I guess my clothes will dry as time goes by. I wait for such a day to come and try to live diligently. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope for all those of you who listen to me to have a sunny day. Please cheer for me and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section. Pressing like and subscription is a big help to me. Have a wonderful day.